Bret Hart. This is something else that I wanted to mention, and for whatever reason, I didn't even put it in the script last week. Bret Hart has comments on Vince McMahon, so he's maybe the most high-profile person to come out and just say it how it is, basically. From Slate magazine, or website, Janelle Grant's lawsuit, Bret Hart has lost any respect that he once had for Vince McMahon. Quote, I don't have any problem with everybody kicking his head around the parking lot, Hart said. I'm okay with the truth coming out. I always had a respect for him being Vince. Now it's tainted. I'm embarrassed that I thought so highly of him. In response to an allegation in the lawsuit where McMahon allegedly defecated on Grant's head and back while she was raped by another man, Hart said, when you get that vision in your head, you go, that's messed up. Hart said, it's too sick and disgusting to really imagine. Bret followed up, I don't think this is the only incidence of this kind of predatory behaviour. I think you'll find that it's everywhere in WWE. It's like Jeffrey Dahmer or Harvey Weinstein or Jeffrey Epstein. Vince will be a joke. He'll be used for humour, and you'll shake your head at the shock value of some joke about what did Vince McMahon do. He'll always be associated with this story, especially as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. He also added, I apologise from the bottom of my heart to Rita Marie Chatterton, the lady referee, when he saw her a few months ago. And I said, I believe...
That's 30 years ago.
30 years ago, in fact, yes. We'll be talking about Rita in a short while as well. But he said to Rita, I believe that what happened to you, and I apologise, I was wrong. Then Bret followed up in a text message to Slate, I think despite all of the issues I ever had with Vince, I know deep down I always respected him. But now, knowing what kind of a weirdo he became, I have absolutely zero respect for him. I do not think I could ever shake his hand if he extended it too creepy.
Mm. Well, I kind of found him creepy before all this came out.
Well, before you found out you shit on women's heads, yeah.
No, that's not funny. I'm not laughing at that.
I know, but it's just such a weird...
But
you just got to say it. It's just the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
I've never heard of that. Now, which got me to thinking, wait a minute. It was in a threesome, right?
Yeah.
And he dumped on this woman's head.
Yeah.
And left the room. What did the guy that was left in there, what did he do?
Apparently, he just carried on. And apparently, he really liked it. This is why I said, how do you find out? Like, how do you want to arrange a threesome and then find out that the other guy likes that kind of thing as well? When does that conversation get broached?
When is that? Yes. I wonder, was that Laurinaitis? Could have been.
There was a physiotherapist, apparently. Vince and a physiotherapist.
Okay, when are their names going to be brought into this?
Oh, soon, I hope.
The physical I know him. I know the guy. Maybe I didn't know him unless he changed, but he always, this is Vince's routine. When he would say Monday Night Raw is in Memphis, let's say, just because I'm familiar with the towns, and they used to do SmackDown the night after, and Vince could go to both shows. Now he can still go to both shows, but he's got well, not now, but before he could go back and forth between them, but it was a lot of travel. Back in the day when I was there, they would do Memphis on Monday and a close town on Tuesday. Let's say Little Rock. Tuesday would be SmackDown in Little Rock. So Vince would go over there with his trainer or his therapist, and they would go to the hotel and they would check in. I don't know. Sometimes they check in at 2:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning, and go from there straight to the gym. Him and the therapist. And Vince would go in and get his workout in. And then Vince would come back, I guess, have breakfast and start going over the show by himself. And about 11:00, he'd call the writers up and they'd go over the show. And they'd be at the building at 2:00. I don't know when Vince slept. Nobody else does either. He was almost like a vampire. He may have slept and he may have not slept. So I don't know. But what was your question? Do I think differently of him?
No, this is Bret Hart coming out and saying and just being really matter of fact with what he's saying, because we've heard a lot of, fairly big name wrestling stars who've been very much on the fence or not wanting to say too much, but I think there's a few like you, and a couple of others who work under Vince has basically just said, no, this is bonkers, and sort of laid his full opinions out there.
It is crazy. But I always felt that even when I was close to him and talking to him in his office, and which didn't happen a lot. But when I was sitting there and, he was, I just felt a weird feeling. I didn't know what it was. I just know that I felt really, really uncomfortable. Now I can see that my alert system, my antenna, was telling me, hey, this guy's a little bit of a different cat. He's a little bit different. So
it's like the Billy Jack Haynes radar kind of thing going on.
Well, yeah, you run into people in this business like that. And I've always heard that guys who are leaders, they're different. I don't know how different, but they're different from the standard mix of guys you would expect. And Vince is. When you read this stuff, it's not like the first time he's been charged with this. So you got to think back, well, wait a minute. He was charged with this. Rita Chatterton, she got it.
Yeah.
And it just goes on and on and on. But he's never been held accountable. He may have made settlements, which was accountable enough, but they hushed that up. So, and he paid out $19 million. You don't pay out $19 million if there's no fire there. If there's just smoke, you don't pay out $19 million. But if there's some fire there, yeah, you're writing those checks. Shut up and sign the NDA. Now, have they said that the NDAs were illegal?
No, we don't know that yet. This is what the civil suit is going to determine, I think, if it ever gets that far. We're going to get to Rita in a minute, just to sort of close upon the Bret thing.
They were illegal. Let me I'm going to make a legal point here. They were illegal if the board was not told.
No, I don't think that's a point of contention. I don't know. I think
you obviously went to a different law school than I did. I went to the University of Dutch Law School, a very fine law school there.
I'd have to get the civil suit back up and look at it. But the main point of contention was that the NDA was too broad and they didn't pay it anyway. And it was on maybe because it was on WWE property and WWE paid them, and Vince, I don't know. Who knows? We'll hopefully find all that out. Just very quickly with Bret. I mean, just basically a comment on Bret's comments on Vince, because that's really sort of nailing your colours to the mast, as it were.
Now, what are you asking? What is?
Oh, just you.
What Vince said?
No, yeah, no. Bret Hart's comments.
What
on
he
Vince.
said to Rita?
No, what he said to Vince about Vince.
Oh, I kind of agree with him. I kind of agree. If Vince walked in a room, I look at him differently.
You check if he washed his hands first, wouldn't you, nowadays?
No, I'd say, don't touch me. I'm put my gloves on, because I don't know where you've been. You could come straight from a session. I don't know, with your therapist. I don't know. But what is there to say? I mean, without just coming out and says, okay, Vince, did you do that or not? You could say that. And what's he going to say? He can't admit it. I wonder if this does go to trial, if they get him on the stand, if he is asked that question, and that would be everywhere. I mean, it would be the BBC, the Canadian News, the Mexico City Gazette, the Times, the
Daily
Post.
Bugle.
No kidding. It would be everywhere if they said, did you actually defecate on a woman's head. My God. Talk about views. Hey, if we had it here and we was the only place that had it, we'd hit 100 million views.
God, yeah. If we were the only people who have cameras in the court.
Yes.
Yeah, right. You need to work. You need to work on getting the rights to that right now. I think.
I will.